Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Strategy Show playoffs. Wild card weekend, first look edition, baby, presented by Prize Picks. For those of you guys wondering, we're just pushing everything back a day, cut one show out for the playoffs, but we're going to start the first look on Wednesday and then cruise through everything else throughout the week. I'm Dave Loughran, _D, LOUGHY_D on the Twitters, joined by Ben Rasa at Raz DFS. Playoffs are starting, man, with 6 games with a Monday nighter as well. We're in business.
Well, we're definitely in business. I'm not even going to make a big. I'll just get this right out. I think it's fine to play a playoff game on Monday. I've seen some people say they shouldn't be doing that. I think it's cool. More the merrier.
I like it.
Karen.
I'm a fan. And I'm also not, you could talk about like short weeks and stuff too, but there's teams that play on wild card weekend on Sunday and then they play Saturday the next week, right? So what's the difference between playing Monday and then Sunday the next week?
It's not a big deal. I think it's fine. None of it bothers me.
I love it.
Yeah.
Look, I'm all about adding games. I think the Saturday games are fun. I thought it was awesome that we had that Jags-Titans game felt like a playoff game, right? I'm not saying between two clear playoff teams. The Titans certainly aren't. But it felt like a playoff atmosphere. Saturday night, primetime game, win and get in. Anyone not a fan of that, in my opinion, is nuts. Like if every season, Ben, you put a teams that are in win and get in, obviously it's unique each year. But like if you have another situation where winner gets the division or, winner in this makes the playoffs regardless of other outcomes, I say flex them or put them on Saturday, put them on Sunday night, whatever you could possibly do to make it worthwhile, because those games feel like playoff games.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I have no problem with any of that. I think my biggest gripe is probably, I get why we're dealing with a 2-game slate and then a 3-game slate and then a showdown slate. To me, it would be cool once a year to just have like a multiple day slate and just have the long Saturday to Monday be the premier slate. But I get why they do it.
Yeah, because it's going to fill on those short slates.
Yes, it is.
No doubt. But I'll tell you in a second how we're going to break down this slate to make it easier for you guys, to make it easier for everyone. It's complicated. Before we do, though, happy to have you guys with us. Welcome to the postseason, baby. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Watching after the fact, that's cool too. Leave a comment down below. We try and at the minimum read all of them, respond to as many as we can. If you're listening to podcast or wherever it is, leave a rating, a review, subscribe to the pod. Tell your friends as we head into wild card weekend about the strategy show. It's a great time of year. We're heading into the playoffs, but before any of that, man, before we get into this slate, I just want to shout out the Detroit Lions.
I knew you would.
Why not? I was so fucking stoked to see that. Now, I had a feeling Campbell's team, you think they're going to come in and lay down the Dan Campbell's animals? Get out of here. Of course not. You knew they were going to come in and bite some legs off, as he says, chew them down to the knees, Ben. And that's exactly what they did. Goff looked solid. Williams has his 17th touchdown on the season. The defense stepped up, got a big-time pick, and they could have been completely deflated after all those calls went against them. Forget about the rig shit, too. This was like the one on the interception that got called back. It was a clear hands to the face on Detroit. Okay, it was. Whatever. You want to see Green Bay get into the playoffs? That's what they say the league wanted. Doesn't matter. They still lost. Detroit fought tooth and nail. I was real excited for that game, man.
Yeah, good for them. I mean, you have to give credit. Listen, they
had nothing to play for but pride.
No, I love the mentality. They say, I mean, I heard him say it, that 2 things are happening. We're either making the playoffs or they're not. And I love that.
Did they say that?
Yeah, which is awesome.
That's so good.
Like, you got to give them props. Now, I think it speaks more that, and you said this from the beginning, Green Bay is just simply not good.
I agree with that.
They got on a little run, but they're not a good team. So
agree.
Before we crown Detroit, it feels good for them. They will be a serious threat to make the playoffs next year. I think everyone acknowledges that. I thought that Trevor Lawrence was quite
real quick.
fortunate.
I'm not crowning the Lions. I'm crowning them. I'm crowning that performance. And like, I hate, I'm not trying to use buzzwords here, right? Like, oh, playing for pride, they had grit, this and that. But like most teams in that situation, after getting eliminated from the playoffs 1 hour before kickoff, Ben, because don't forget that game between Seattle and the Rams went to overtime. So it's like, it's what,
Yeah.
one hour before kickoff? They're like, all right, we got nothing to play for. They still rally the troops and come out there and win. Go ahead.
No, listen, there's all credit to them. Now, again, I don't think the Packers are any good. The Packers also have a guy who got ejected multiple times in an NFL season, which is just so far out. I can't even deal with that. I want to take us back, though, one day earlier, because Trevor Lawrence, who had made strides this year, played not a great game, and he got bailed out, not on a controversial call, but a close call, in the sense of, Jacksonville won the game by scoring on defense late. They're very fortunate. I think the narrative would be a lot different if that turned out different for Trevor Lawrence to end that season.
I agree. And we were both pretty high on Lawrence coming into the final few weeks of the year. He missed some must-have throws and he got bailed out. You're right. Like if that's Ryan Tannehill, does Tennessee win that game?
I mean, I thought they should have won the game with Dobbs, so probably.
Yeah.
No, you didn't miss the Meatloaf talk. I got to talk about Meatloaf. I got to talk about the DMV a little bit. Went to the DMV yesterday.
Oh, we'll get into that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. By the way, say what you want about Vrabel. He clearly made the right decision starting Dobbs over Malik Willis. Like, I know Dobbs kind of collapsed in the latter stages of that game, but they couldn't contain the pressure either. Like, Jacksonville was on his ass every second. If that's Malik Willis, I don't know if they get more than a field goal in that game, honestly.
No, and I don't know what they're going to do with Willis, honestly. Like,
no.
It's a tough spot. We'll see. They're irrelevant. They're not in the playoffs, but
last thing. Hold on. Wait. I know you want to talk about this.
Texans.
No, well, that's amazing. Like, just a clear middle finger. I said it before the week started. If you think Lovie Smith's team is coming in here and laying down, you're insane. Like, when he said it, we're playing, he was not playing around, and they went for two. I mean, that's going to live in infamy, man. That is unbelievable that they didn't just go for the tie. They know with the number 1 overall pick on the line, Lovie Smith goes, we're winning this game. And they did, man. Can you imagine?
And now he's fired.
But he knew he was going to be fired.
Yeah. Listen, good for them. That's something that people, I think, confuse all the time. Like, the coaches and the players, they play to win 100% of the time, even when you're tanking. Like, it's the guys that are out there. What did you had another thing though? What was that?
I think it's insane that Staley played his starters all
game.
Oh
my God. Okay. I texted you about that. We were texting during that.
And then Williams gets hurt.
Yeah, no, he's carted off and he's like, oh, he could have returned. Returned to what? He got hurt. Joey Bosa got hurt. Murray got hurt. Just, I don't care if anyone is not on it. Like, if everyone is fine and they're playing, it's still so dumb. And this is a guy who doesn't play Herbert in the preseason at all, which I agree with.
Not a single snap.
Like, I'm not, I mean, this is why I can't be an owner. I would fire him. He would be fired.
For that one decision, right?
Yes. There is no other argument.
Zero. And they lost.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. Yeah, like, oh, we need momentum. Real good momentum. You lost to Denver heading into the playoffs. Good job.
Honestly, of all the insanity that transpired in week 18, and it always does, I think Brandon Staley playing his starters all game was the most insane thing that we saw throughout the entire week.
It's the worst coaching decision of the year, and that includes everything
ahead of Hackett's blunders.
Because, I mean, this shouldn't factor in, but it's, of all the teams, it's the Chargers who get snake bitten more than any team in the league.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me?
Right. You're right. The Chargers, there's a black cloud over their heads every single year. You're right. Crazy. Anything else? Or you want to move this forward?
No, I can't. I mean, the comment says it all. Staley is a fake smart guy because I love how aggressive he is, but that is it just makes no sense in any situation. You want to get him one series, sure. Like, Eckler's getting like handoffs deep into the fourth. Like, what are you thinking?
No, it doesn't. Yeah, Justin said he's a fake smart guy.
Yeah.
He at this point he is. I'll never understand that. And then they come out with these bogus excuses as well as to like why you're Keenan Allen's always finding a way to get injured, right?
Derwin James is hurt every year.
Every year. Mike Williams is always banged up.
It's the team that stabbed their own quarterback. Like, err on the side of caution.
Yeah, man. I know.
I can't.
All right. Well, glad you guys are all hanging out with us. This should be a really fun show. We are going to listen. The only way we can do this is just cover it as like a main slate and then add some context to like a Saturday or a Sunday slate, right? Like, hey, this guy is great, but especially on the Saturday, you know what I'm saying, Ben? Like it's the only way we can do it. We're not doing 8 different first look shows for this weekend.
No, we can't. I mean, listen, there's 6 games. We're going to get into all of them. And obviously there is going to be some nuance, but you guys, we have a smart chat. They understand if I say he's my favorite of all the quarterbacks, and then he's on a 2-game slate, even though he's going to be much more popular there, it reasons to stand that I probably like him there. So we're going to do the best we can with it.
It also stands to reason.
What did I say? Reason to stand?
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
I try to expand the vocabulary and just immediately punished. I should just stick to my 3 sentences. So
I tweeted last night that the most hated, the meal that gets the most undeserved hate, the most disrespected meal on the planet is the old meatloaf. And you said that we could spend an hour on this. Quick thoughts here. Does that mean that you hate meatloaf? Because I ate it last night and I ate it cold today before we started this show. Meatloaf gets so much undeserved hate. It is delicious if you know how to make it. I'm not talking some garbage nonsense diner meatloaf, right? I'm talking homemade meatloaf, the real deal, delicious.
Okay. So I said to you on the tweet, I don't know how I feel about this because we're not going to get too deep in the weeds. Sure. It may be underrated because I think it's regarded as like a pretty shitty food. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, but I think it's the name because here's why. It is essentially the same thing as a hamburger. Like you're just
I don't know. I don't eat meatloaf.
Okay. So all you're doing, I make a good meatloaf, as a matter of fact. All you're doing is taking ground beef, right? And you can do a bunch of different things. Some guy on Twitter is like trying to give me a heart attack. You got to stuff it with mac and cheese.
That seems aggressive.
It is. It's probably delicious, but I want to live past 40. Anyway. Yes. And Willie said meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Yes. Meatloaf and mashed potatoes is one of the greatest meals on earth. And Steven, it is like a hamburger. It is.
I don't know about that.
It is just ground beef that you're mashing together. Now, one of the ways you can do it, right? You beat an egg and then you get breadcrumbs. Okay. You can do it a million different ways though. Like you put ketchup in there, ground beef, breadcrumbs, Worcestershire, you name it. Okay. There's ways to make this work. Dice up some onions, mince some garlic, all of that. It is not far off. Like all it is ground beef that you're shaping into a loaf and putting your own twist on it.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I first of all, I've never had homemade meatloaf for obvious reasons. The problem I have with
it because he doesn't cook any food on his own.
Yeah. And growing up, my parents would never have cooked meatloaf or cooked in general. This is my thoughts, and then we can move on or keep going. It's fine, but I'm going to put it in the pork chop category. And what I mean by that is you get boxed out at restaurants. I was at a good restaurant last night. On the menu was pork chops. And the problem is any place that it's going to have a good pork chop, it's going to have a good ribeye, a good filet, probably some sea bass, maybe braised short rib. So it's just like, when the hell am I ever going to eat meatloaf? Because if I'm going to do that, I would just eat, like I had a nice ribeye last night. It was quite good. I'm not sure where meatloaf ever fits in.
Pork chop stinks though. Like,
does it though? Pork chop seems fine. I'd never get them because
it tastes like my mother-in-law for New Year's Day always has like a huge pork, right? Like that's what they do. And they're actually very good. But but I would never seek it out.
That's Meatloaf. That's what I'm saying.
So what I'm telling you is Meatloaf is in seek out territory. Now, maybe not if I'm in a restaurant, because it's one of those things where you kind of want to have your own feel for it. But as far as like, if you ask me, would I rather make meatloaf or pork chops at home? No question, meatloaf all day. If we ever get together, we're eating meatloaf, dude. We're eating meatloaf.
Like I said, I'm sure it's fine. That's my whole point. I think it's probably underrated because it's regarded as such a shitty food, and it's not that bad. But I just don't know when I would ever eat meatloaf, because I would just rather eat anything else in that category.
I think it comes down though to the look and to the name. Meatloaf. It's just a loaf of meat.
See, pork chops though, everyone has the same. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not. There are a couple foods that I just think are in a tough spot, because if you were ever going to get them, you'd want them at a good restaurant. And if I'm at a good restaurant, I would never get meatloaf. I would never get shepherd's pie. I would never get pork chops, because I would just probably get a steak or like ossobuco, something else that just
I get it.
That's all.
I also don't eat any pie that has meat in it. I don't think pie should have.
I don't really like pie to begin. I don't like pie, actually. I shouldn't even say.
I do, but I'm saying I don't like in my warped mind, pie shouldn't have meat in it. So it throws me off. It's the name. And I think the name Meatloaf throws other people off.
That's fine. You don't like chicken pot pie? Not to just real quick.
Like I'd eat it, but it doesn't appeal to me.
I don't like pumpkin pie, apple pie.
I love pumpkin pie with a scoop of ice cream on it.
That's all bad.
No, it's good. It's delicious. All right. You want to talk some football? We'll get into your DMV story later.
That'll be later. It's not even a story. Just an experience for me, just leaving the house. It's always something. Anyway, go ahead.
Did you have to get your license taken?
So my lease was up and I bought the car and I had to like do some bullshit.
Oh, okay. All right. So no more serial killer pictures?
No, my license is intact. So we're good. Don't worry about it.
Let's talk about quarterbacks. Like I said, guys, we're just going to look at this from like we're going to zoom out on everything. Now, to be fair, there's still some huge contests. Like the screen pass is 100,000 the first, Ben, for Saturday through Monday. So if you're still trying to get in Saturday through Monday, there's some big contests out there.
Oh, no doubt about it. The 6-gamer is well intact. We also have the short slates to deal with, and it's just tough to jump in. You know, and you would think, oh, playoff time, we have no questions. I feel like we have more questions than a main slate.
You more questions on the main slate, you said?
Like for only a handful of games, we still have so many unknowns at a quarterback position.
Oh, I know.
Normally, it's like very straightforward. We legitimately have actual situations we don't have answers to.
Yeah. The Tua thing is weird. That one, you would assume that he doesn't play, but I'm not ruling anything out here. It's just the Dolphins, things haven't looked great for the Dolphins as far as, managing injuries have been. And you know what? Maybe the last couple haven't been Tua's or haven't been the team's fault. I don't know, but there's certainly certainly a watchful eye on that team right now. The 9-point dogs, and then Lamar. You got Rappaport saying yesterday, Ben, that or this morning, whatever it was, that it's going to be an uphill battle for him to play as well. If he doesn't play, it's Tyler Huntley, if Huntley's available, or Anthony Brown, who attempted 44 passes last week and completed 19 of them.
Yeah, that's these situations. Again, I know we don't know, but what a tough situation. I'm just going to go by the spread. Baltimore's a touchdown underdog here. Miami's a big underdog, 10 points. I think Miami has actually no chance in that game. Not going to lie. I don't see how they.
Do you think this is a spot where Miami doesn't, you're saying no chance to win or no chance to even, obviously there's always a chance to cover, but would you be laying the points on the Bills here?
There are certain times, I'm definitely leaning towards that side. And sometimes going with the super square mindset is, I think, more than fine. And it truly seems that the Bills and the Niners, there is no chance in my mind that they lose. Famous last words. But like, if you're looking for teaser pieces, I just simply don't know how either of those teams lose.
Yeah. Who? Buffalo and Cincinnati?
No, and San Francisco.
Oh, San Francisco, sure. I think it's tough for Cincinnati to lose this game too if Lamar's not out there.
If Lamar's not out there, he's such a wild card because he's Lamar. But if he's not out there, we've seen that defense.
They're fantastic.
But let me ask you this, and I know we're talking quarterbacks, but do you think it helps or hurts Cincinnati that they literally just played? Or no effect?
I don't know. Did they run a more vanilla offense? It's hard. I don't know. These teams play each other twice every year anyway. So
I think it hurts them. I'll be honest. I think that if it's particularly if it's Brown back there, Baltimore had 4 turnovers.
I know
in that game. They could have easily really made that a game. Yeah.
So that's the thing. Cincinnati only had 20 points on offense because they had a defensive touchdown, but they also had, I think it was 6 points that were generated off of turnovers that put them in good field position. So their offense really wasn't that sharp at all. Mixon got nothing going on the ground. Burrow barely eclipsed 200 passing yards. I personally like the under on this game more than anything at 41.5. If Lamar is out, the under here. Baltimore's defense has been excellent. It's the only hope they have of staying alive in this one. You could see like a 23-13 type game, and it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever.
Does that make you less likely to go to Burrow in the stack then?
Yeah. This isn't to say that I don't like Burrow, but this is a perfect segue into really breaking this slate down. Daniel Jones is 5,600 against Minnesota. He ripped off 338 yards, huge game against them last time out. Tom Brady, 5,800 in a pass-heavy offense against Dallas. Kirk Cousins, sub 6K against the New York Giants. You could keep going here if you want to go to the top with Josh Allen at 7,900. Joe Burrow, to me, is in a weird kind of no man's land position where I think you could clearly play him. It's a short slate. And if you're talking about Sunday only, then sure. But even so, even on Sunday, right? You have Jones, you have Cousins, you have Josh Allen. I think from a value perspective, even a points per dollar standpoint, like where does Burrow rank even on a Sunday 3-game slate for you?
I mean, we're shrinking the slate significantly there, but I agree. I think that people are going to look for the pay down options, and you've got it with Jones, certainly Lawrence, who's on the other side of the slate on Saturday. I get that. I'm with you. I think that game, it has the lowest total of the 3 games on Sunday. Everyone's going to be looking to the Giants Vikings, who also played pretty recently, and we got a pretty good indication there. We'll have to check the weather in Buffalo. Of course, if you have the money, go get Josh Allen. One guy we really didn't mention, again, there's not that many quarterbacks. Do you think that Herbert's in the same no man's land as well?
Yeah, because Herbert just hasn't been good this year.
Yeah, that is also true.
Like from a DFS perspective, and I know that Jacksonville's secondary is the weakest part of their defense. That's not lost on me, right? I'm 100% understanding of that. But Herbert just hasn't been all that productive. I mean, would you rather play Herbert on a pass-heavy team at 66, or would you rather just pay down for Tom Brady at 58 on the most pass-heavy team in the league?
That's the game. I mean, you've got Brady, or you could just play Dak, who's talking about been awful.
Yeah, it grosses me out kind of.
Still.
But yeah, there's a
37 attempts.
I'm not sure you have any bad options down there. If you want Cousins, Brady, Daniel Jones, of course, like Brock Purdy, the pass volume is so low there that it is very concerning to me, especially as a 10-point favorite. I know I've talked about that a lot. That is a little bit concerning to me. You just have to be highly efficient, and it's still going to be tough to get there, right? Like, put it this way, Ben, he threw for 3 touchdowns last week and still didn't hit 20 fantasy points.
I mean, Purdy, I just worry. It's very difficult. He's not going to give you anything rushing, and his job is to not lose the game. Yeah. Like, he's been great, but they don't want him to do anything, and I don't think he's going to need to do much. no one's going to play Geno Smith. And I get it, but I will say, and listen, it's the end of the regular season. We've seen, I mean, Stidham comes to mind, of course. I think they can move the ball. If you're talking about the largest tournaments, especially on the shorter slate, I think particularly the 2-game slate, I don't think rolling Geno is crazy.
No,
I mean, you're talking about a slate with 4 quarterbacks.
Right.
I'm literally
That's a
focusing
lot
on Saturday.
different. You're right. That's a lot, especially if they have to go in pass heavy mode, and
they're going to. I think they're going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think just a complete route in this one?
I mean, I just don't think, you know this. I don't think Seattle is even remotely a playoff caliber team. I don't think they're any good. They're here, and that's all that matters. But I just, the Niners should really be ready. I think they just win pretty easily.
Yeah, it took Seattle overtime to get into the playoffs against the Rams.
Yeah, that call on Ramsey. I mean, they ultimately got to overtime. They had their chance. That was a terrible personal foul call.
Yeah, horrible. What about Trevor Lawrence? You mentioned last week from last week, he was terrible. He really did struggle. I mean, there were some. If you look at it across the entirety of the game, you're like, okay, he did enough. But if you look at some of the missed throws, Jacksonville should have won this game by 2 touchdowns.
These guys were wide open, but Lawrence, he still checks most of the boxes that you would want. He's shown the ability to run. That helps. Obviously, the pass volume can get there. He's in a very close competitive game against a team that is just outrageous. Who knows what the Chargers are going to do? Healthy total. It's hard not to like Lawrence.
He's also cheap. I'm just having a tough time getting to that mid-range. Like Herbert. If Lamar plays, I'm still really concerned that he's just not going to have the same rushing upside against Cincinnati. They're saying his knee still isn't right.
Yeah, that's the problem, because I mean, I respect Lamar's passing, but like, how often is he really getting there if his rushing upside is limited?
He's not.
That's what I mean. So it's like, okay.
Funny thing about Lamar Jackson is we're looking at this team and talking about how bad they've been without him. It's kind of funny though, because they weren't playing that well without him or with him. Sorry. The defense once again was doing so much of the heavy lifting in a lot of these games that they were winning. Of course, Lamar Jackson, way better than Huntley, not even in the same stratosphere as Anthony Brown. If Lamar Jackson plays, this changes things for sure. I'll tell you this. If he played what do you think the line would be if Lamar played? It's at 7 across the board now, some spots 7.5.
I mean, I think the problem is that he may play, but I don't think anyone thinks he's going to be all right. It'll drop a little bit, but it's not dropping to like 3. I'll tell you that.
No
much.
way. No chance. Can't.
No. It might go to like 6.
That's what I was thinking. Through 7, but nothing crazy.
No.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Do you have anything else at quarterback? Just to put this slate kind of in context for us, plays that might make the most sense, even if we don't maybe like large field tournament plays that stand out.
For me, I'll sum it up like this. Don't want to bury the lead. I know we didn't spend a ton of time on him. Josh Allen is still Josh Allen. Like if you can go get him, they got everything that you want. If you're looking to roll the dice, I think that Dak and Geno on the shorter slates could make a lot of sense for big field tournaments. They're not my favorite plays, but they're not going to be the field's favorite plays. Then you've got Cousins, Danny Dimes, I think are obvious targets. Can I just say one thing though, real quick? I've noticed this, and this is more, you can check out everything that Loughran and myself have going on over on Odd Chopper. Everyone in the world is on the Giants.
I know.
Everybody says, obviously, Minnesota's fraudulent and the Giants are going to end them. If it drops to 2.5, I'm betting Minnesota just on principle. I'm just getting that out there right now.
Yeah, I don't think it will. Do you think it will?
I kind of think it does.
You think enough money comes in on the Giants to move that to 2.5, huh?
I think a lot of money is going to come in potential. I think there'll be buyback and serious resistance, but if it hits 2.5, I'm betting Minnesota, even though I don't like that team at all.
You have to.
A lot of love for the Giants. It's still the Giants. Like,
yeah, they're 13-4 against the spread. they're 10 and like 3 as underdogs. They've won 7 of those straight up. Everyone's stoked on them. But
and Minnesota's no good. I'm not gonna push back on that, but I think it's a little much, the love for the Giants here.
All right. Well, let's talk about running backs here. And yes, I know that the Vikings have injuries on their offensive line, but my guess is that's not why the Giants are taking a lot of money.
No, I don't think so either.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe the Giants are stronger in the trenches, sure, and they both have terrible defenses. You're still. I don't know, man. I really don't want to get too far into the weeds with this one. All I can say is that you're right. If it moves to 2.5, there's no way. I mean, you don't. Like you said, it's just principle. You don't take the Giants as 2.5 inside a field goal on the road, no matter what they've been able to do this year.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I have seen it already. A lot of people in our premium Discord, a lot of people in chat, and I get the logic. I'm really stunned at how much. I thought it was going to be around 4.5, like not 3, and it's taken money even at 3, I think.
Last time they faced each other on Christmas Eve, it was 4.5 in some spots. Vikings ended up winning that one with a late field goal to take the lead and win. 3-point win. I'll take the over in this game, though. I think you're going to see a lot of scoring. We can get into some of that as well. Talk running backs. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, they've been saving Christian McCaffrey's real like full workload for the playoffs. You have to imagine that he gets a lot of opportunities in this game. Matter of fact, the most carries that he's had since coming over to San Francisco was with Seattle, where he had 26 attempts and 8 targets in that game, 34 total looks against Seattle in one where they handled him. They only won by 8, but that game was never competitive. I watched the whole thing. I'm sure you guys did too. That was never competitive. I know Elijah Mitchell came back last week. They ran all over Arizona. Elijah Mitchell had 2 touchdowns, but to get there, Elijah Mitchell is going to need 2 touchdowns again. Christian McCaffrey, I will say, as much as I like Austin Eckler, I do like McCaffrey more this week.
Yeah, I have no problem. I've kind of cautioned on the Sunday show, particularly last week against Arizona. There's just no incentive for them to give this guy any more than he needs. And now that couldn't be further from the truth. Like, he's going to get as much as they need and then some in a game like this, even if it gets out of hand. First of all, he's probably part of the reason it got out of hand, and he could still get there with around 20 total touches. So I get it. I think Saquon's going to be the obvious target. What's there to say? We just saw this game. He had 22 total touches. He had 10 targets in that game against Minnesota. So people are going to look at that. I think they're going to go right back to him sub 8K. No one's going to play Dalvin Cook, I would assume.
Yeah.
He got banged up. I probably precautionary. But
he's
fine.
Hurt.
He's fine. I mean, he's someone, he should play on the Chargers. I'll just say that much.
I actually like Dalvin Cook a bit this week. Yeah.
Good tournament play, but
I obviously the Giants defense is actually better than the Vikings defense, but they are. Vikings defense is terrible. Their secondary in particular is
Vikings as a team. I like nothing about the Vikings.
Me neither. And yeah, that's one of those things. We kind of got backed into a corner there into sounding like we love the Vikings this week. No, it's just if it moved to 2.5 type of thing. Dalvin Cook, though, there's always that huge potential there. I look at last game and the Green Bay game as, whatever. I don't really care in those spots. Of course, against Minnesota, he was underwhelming. He really hasn't had that many huge games this season. It's true. He doesn't have a 30 fantasy point game this year. So the question is, do you look to Dalvin Cook, or do we say, all right, there's a lot of other running backs on this slate worth talking about? I mean, if you're talking Saturday slate or full game or full slate, I like Travis Etienne at 6,300 a lot against the Chargers. They're dead last in yards per attempt allowed on the ground this year. That is their one major weakness this team has. Last week, Travis Etienne being underwhelming was not surprising at all. You should have expected that against that Tennessee front. He doesn't get a ton of pass catching work. I know JaMychal Hasty can be used a little bit in that respect, but I think Travis Etienne gets the clear lion's share of touches in his backfield. It's a really good spot for him this week. I like Etienne at home. Wouldn't be surprised if he ripped off a few big runs. 6,300 to me is a great price point.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. We were over on the Odd Shop again. Check that out on Odd Shopper. You were really adamant to short some of Etienne's props in that bad spot against Tennessee. This is a much better situation, reasonably priced. You've got Pollard right there. I get that. Not to jump backwards, Tua's out. So you can just
confirm
the Dolphins. Yeah, he's confirmed. He's gone. That's just a tough spot for Miami. Really tough spot. We'll talk about that more when we get to Tyreek and co. I'm not sure what they're going to do. Do you think it impacts like Mostert?
Well, is it going to be Bridgewater?
I don't know.
McDaniel said that Bridgewater probably could have come in relief if Skylar Thompson got hurt last game. But, dislocated pinky finger on his throwing arm. Bert said if Teddy starts, Hill is still in play. Yeah, I agree.
So do I.
It's just a matter of, first of all, Justin Jefferson's the premier wide receiver option on this slate. He's the best. And he will be the highest owned. And then you have Stephon Diggs against that Miami secondary as well. So it leaves you with, and we're jumping around a little bit here, but whatever. It leaves you with Jamar Chase and Tyreek Hill sandwiched in between those guys with Diggs and Jefferson bookending those salaries.
Yeah, I mean that's something we're gonna have to look to, and we'll get there. I know we're jumping around a little bit. I'm just interested, whoever it is. I know Mostert. I think he broke a thumb. It's something with his thumb. Him or Wilson. If it's Bridgewater, maybe they get a boost. I mean, I just don't know how low you can go. And then you got Fournette down there, who at times, when Tampa does what they do to mitigate the pass rush, and we know that's what they want to do against the Dallas pass rush. I mean, Fournette could get another 10 targets. We've seen that multiple times this year.
Yeah. Well, let me just back up for a second. I think it's probably unlikely that Mostert plays.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. Whoever it is, if he doesn't play, I mean, Wilson's going to be a popular pay down option.
And I think he should be. I also think it's insane that Leonard Fournette is cheaper than him and Devin Singletary and J.K. Dobbins. Insane. Like, are we just assuming that Rachaad White is the clear guy? If that was the case,
why would we assume that?
Well, okay. Rachaad White has a higher rushing prop this week than Fournette. Do you know what Fournette's rushing prop is? Take a guess. Take a gander.
41.
36.5.
Yeah, that's pretty low.
But his rushing plus receiving is 70.5, which speaks to your talk about target. We saw Todd Bowles did it. We saw that he didn't even play him last week, essentially. Clearly, you're resting this guy to use him in the postseason. No? Like, I think Fournette could get a lot of work this week.
Yeah, like 25 total touches. Legitimately.
Yeah. I know in week one, Rachaad White wasn't really a factor. That was when Fournette had 21 carries in that game. And then they kind of just stopped using him later because it was out of hand. But still, like against Arizona, just the other week, Fournette was targeted 10 times. He had 30 touches in that game. Against Carolina, only 14, but last week makes no difference. I really do think that Fournette's price point might be the most egregious of anybody on this slate.
I would, yeah, I'd agree with that. Listen, these games too, that Arizona game, like these are gotta have it games. They might as well have been playoff games for Tampa. So we're getting insight into what they want to do. I'm not sure I can go lower than that though. Is there anyone I'm missing?
The only other one is like if you did want to play Rachaad White, if Fournette is uber chalk, then I think Rachaad White makes some sense. But he doesn't excite me. James Cook is 4,800. Who knows what the split looks like there? No, there's nobody exciting down there. I think Leonard Fournette is clearly, and it would be Jeff Wilson if most of it is out, are the two best options sub 6K.
Yeah. There's just not a lot down there. Yeah.
Like the problem with Dobbins is he doesn't catch passes. He needs to score. And if Lamar's out, you're looking at an implied total that's going to be through the floor.
Yeah, Dobbins doesn't interest me much at all. Like he has to play in some iterations from ahead to really get there. And how often is that happening against Cincinnati here?
I don't think very often.
But you see what I'm talking about? The line for the Vikings-Giants game should be pick 'em. In what world should it be pick 'em? I'm going to end up unloading on Minnesota just for society reasons.
Brandon Katz is legitimately just spewing nonsense.
Well, he's a crazy person. We appreciate the love, but
What love?
Well, he's here. He's organically engaged.
Just so he can talk shit. He said Chase is getting more targets than Jefferson right now.
Love.
Jefferson played a quarter last week, and he was locked down the week before by Jair Alexander. The 3 weeks, but 16, 16, and 15 targets. The guy's just spewing nonsense. Listen,
okay, no love. I'm taking back the love. Fine. See, I got you all fired up with Meatloaf, and now, Chad, you better watch out.
Thanks for watching, Brandon. Hit that thumbs up.
That's what I was trying to get. I was trying to get an extra like out of the show. Good luck with that. I just hit the like button. No, I forgot I didn't hit it. There you go.
Well, oh my God, dude. I'm not even going to get, I refuse.
We got too many important things going on here.
If you're looking at something in the context of he's gotten more targets over the last 6 weeks and disregarding context, you need to go back and essentially reevaluate everything. If you take out the Jair Alexander game and the game where he only played 1 quarter, 1.5 quarters or whatever it was, and I'm spinning I'm talking to a brick wall.
Yeah. All right. You see what you've done? Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. Any other running backs you like here? And
no.
let me close it with this, because I know your answer to that is no. I have 2 questions for you because they need to be answered. Well, actually 3. 1, and you can run through these. Just feel free to run through them. 1, what do you do with Joe Mixon? Very tough spot. That run defense, and particularly the defense, since Roquan Smith came at the deadline, has been very good. And Joe Mixon all year long, outside of 1 fantastic game against Carolina, he's been pretty bad on the ground. What do you do with him? What do you do with the ground game for Dallas? Because that looks wildly unappealing this week to me. And do you take some shots, because you talked about Gino, do you take some shots on Kenneth Walker, just given the volume that he sees week in and week out?
So all of them are in the same range. Kenneth Walker, insane volume, like crazy Derrick Henry level volume. So I do think you can do that. To me, I would rather roll the dice on Pollard, who is the guy you mentioned. It's not an appealing spot, but I think the range of outcomes for the Dallas backs is pretty wide. He's an electric player. The floor is probably the lowest for him. I think Walker's probably got the best there, just because if you touch the ball 30 times, even against San Francisco, it's hard not to have anything go your way. To me, ETN's the obvious play in the range. And then you have 3 legitimate tournament plays on those backs, from Pollard to Mixon to Walker. I think Walker's probably the worst option, even with the volume.
Okay. I would agree. Let's talk wide receivers here. Let's talk wide receivers. We're talking about the top guys. You can't play Jefferson because he's getting less targets than Chase right now.
And the Vikings are going to get shut out, apparently. They're worst team in the NFL history.
Should be a pickup. All right. Go, Brandon, don't count last week. Don't count last week. And then throw out the week before against a lockdown corner and tell me what it was like before that. Justin Jefferson is peppered with targets essentially every week. He averages double-digit targets per game on the season. He's fantastic. Before we talk about him, though, we have to shout out our sponsor, Prize Picks, because, well, they won't make anybody mad. People can grind my gears, get me fired up, Ben. But Prize Picks is going to do nothing but good for people because they're giving $100 first match deposit bonus. You're getting a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum when you sign up using the link in the description or the one in chat. Isn't that remarkable? It's $120 value, not just our football tools, but every tool that we have on the site is free to you when you sign up using that link in the description or in chat. And Ben, you just have a great site to play on where you can mix as many sports. You're just building lineups with props and taking home some big money.
So many different options. The beautiful thing, we're all talking about some of these guys. There it is. It's right there on Prize Picks. You have a feeling on Jefferson, put it in the prop. Build your card around that, and you can get paid out on your takes. Like the number one thing in all of this, you got the value. If you think you have the edge, Prize Picks is another way to do it. You mentioned my favorite thing. PGA has started. College basketball is here. NFL is here. NBA, NHL. If you watch a lot of different sports, you can sync them up and parlay them up across the board. Really good opportunities. There's Jefferson on the screen. So yeah, shout out to Prize Picks. Obviously, a lot of people already play over there. If you don't, again, use the tools, take the value. Links in the description of this video.
Check it out. And you're getting, like I said, free month. If nothing else, all of our tools for every single sport, everything, including the new NBA and NFL lineup generator, entirely free. We do this because we want you guys to check it out. We want you to win money and we want you to hang around. No better way to do it than essentially get in the door for free. Check out all our tools and our premium Discord for a month. Links in the description and in the chat. All right. So wide receiver.
Yes.
Brandon, of course, says Jefferson's easier to double. That's why he's a fade. It's also, I think I would agree, very easy to double. Very easy to double, which is why he had 1,800 receiving yards this year.
KJ Osborne season.
Yeah.
My man, he's stepping up.
Yeah. Yeah. Double him and he will be shut down, as we've seen, 1,800 receiving yards this year.
You know what the box scores don't show is there's weeks where I played Jefferson, and you can see that in the weeks where he has like 3 targets. So if I don't play him, he will have another 20 targets against the Giants, and they're at home. It's as good a spot. And normally, as we dive into this, what's he, 9,700, 9,500? Like, they're giving us pretty generous pricing on all the top end wide receivers this week.
Jefferson faced the Giants in week 16. He had 16 targets, 12 for 133 and a touchdown. They're going to pepper him. Very little reason to believe they won't. The Giants are bottom 10 in DVOA against wide receiver ones this year. You have to like him this week. You have to like him this week.
Yes.
I like everybody. I have no problem with Hawkinson. If you want to go to a cheap KJ Osborne, as bad as Thielen is, he's super, super cheap. You're talking about an abbreviated slate. I think you could essentially just look at anyone for the Vikings this week and plug them in the passing game.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to the Cousins stack, absolutely. I mean, when I look at the wide receivers, I don't think we really realistically, even though we got into the weeds a little bit, you don't need to spend time on Jefferson. He's an amazing play. Chase, elite. It's Tyreek Hill to me. That is the big question. If he has no quarterback, how big is the discrepancy? And obviously the tools here at Stokastic are going to tell us ownership wise. And is it worth rolling the dice if he's 1/5 the ownership of a guy like Jefferson?
Hey fellas, wanted to give y'all an update. Dolphins are saying that Skylar Thompson is going to be the quarterback. That's what they're preparing as. So,
wow, thank you.
Talk.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
That's a huge problem. If it was Teddy, I'd be okay with it. Skylar Thompson.
Everyone's going to say that though. Like Tyreek is going to be like very marginally owned because of this.
Yeah.
I like him for large field tournaments. I do. I know that
he can create a ton after the catch.
This is the playoffs. Like, he should still have double-digit targets.
He should. He certainly should. Bills have shown some weaknesses lately, but again, it is an opportunity cost thing though, right? Because if you are playing Hill, you have Jefferson, Chase, Hill. Diggs is 7,600 against Miami. That's an appealing spot. CeeDee Lamb against Tampa, 7,700 should continue to see a pretty significant target share, you would think, in this game. How does Hill rank for you still among all of those guys with Skylar Thompson at the helm, even in large field tournaments where you're trying to get different?
I mean, I still think, this is where there is nuance to it. If you have a lineup where you say, it's a short slate and I need some leverage, I think Tyreek Hill really can still get you there. Having said that, his paths to success, it's undeniable, are less than Chase and Jefferson. And to me, even CeeDee Lamb. So I do still have him behind, but it's always a balance of at what point. It's just like, just to bring it back to kind of one of the themes of the show. At what point do you bet the Vikings? I mean, even if you like the Giants, not that this would ever happen. If the spread swung where the Vikings were 3.5 point underdogs, you would bet them on principle, I would hope. And with Tyreek, if his ownership drops to such a level, I think you have to get over the field at a certain point.
You're probably right. Would you just do it with Waddle though instead, or is Hill the guy you want? Because they both do a lot after the catch, which they're very likely going to need to do with Skylar Thompson at the helm, right? Like in order to produce, maybe there's a deep shot, but they're going to have to create some yards on their own which they can both do very well, but they're going to have to do something on their own.
I think for me, when you're going after something like this, you're obviously attacking ceiling. And ironically, I actually would prefer Tyreek because he's more expensive. And I think it's going to be harder for other people. I think Waddle will still be a reasonable target for people. It's easier to get to. So I want the full leverage, because if Tyreek is ineffective, it doesn't matter if he's 8,000 or 7,000 or 6,000 or 9,000. Like, he's either getting there or he's not. So why not fully leverage it?
What does that do to your opinion for Jeff Wilson, assuming Skylar Thompson starts? And assuming, of course, that Raheem Mostert is out. Because if they're both in, just get me away from both.
Oh, get me away from that. I still think that Wilson's I prefer Fournette, but I'm okay with Wilson. If you're going to give me 20 total touches, I know that this is a bad situation, but I didn't think it was going to be that good to begin with. They're going to have to be, they're going to be down. They're going to be throwing. And I still think some of these guys can get there either on volume in Wilson's case, or just pure upside, which is Tyreek Hill. He always has that to break an 80-yarder.
The mid-range has some options too. Keenan Allen against Jacksonville, coming off a huge game that was actually meaningless for them. Mike Evans against Dallas. Godwin 6,400. If Mike Williams plays 62, I do think there are some spots that we could target here. None of these guys are sure things in the sense of like definitive, clear number ones. Like with Evans and Godwin, it could be either one of them. With Mike Evans and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, Keenan Allen should see the larger target share, but more of a possession guy. It could be Mike Williams, assuming he's healthy, assuming he plays. They could have, the too long touch. So all of these, even like when you're talking Christian Kirk and Zay Jones or whatever, there's no definitive, clear week in, week out guy that's getting those double-digit targets locked in.
No, it's a crowded range there. Mike Williams, I mean, this isn't why you play him, but that guy makes ungodly catches. Like, if he could stay healthy, he would be talked about kind of in a different tier, in my opinion. I think Kirk is pretty interesting. If you're going to go to Lawrence, I know Zay Jones gets a lot of love. Not saying he's my favorite play, but to me, the most fascinating name. I mean, what do you think Debo's role is in this situation? He's 5,700.
Yeah.
Like, this used to be I know McCaffrey and him haven't really coexisted a ton. This used to be like an 8K guy.
I have him written down as well. It's so difficult because, now you have a team that has Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell back. Does that take away the need to give Debo 6-7 carries per game, which the efficiency on those was pretty unsustainable to begin with? And then in a low passing volume offense, where clearly Brock Purdy has locked on the Kittle recently, you still have Brandon Ayuk. How much meat is left on the bone for Debo Samuel? He's also a great yards after the catch guy, one of the best in the league, hands down. But that's my only concern here. Like, I think 5,700 at first is kind of shocking, but the more I kind of put it into context, I think that's probably where he should be.
I don't even disagree with that. I just, when you get a situation like this, to me, everything I've tried to say today is structured within smaller slates. Like when you have 13 or 14 games, a lot of these situations, you don't need to get crazy because you can find a 7% owned wide receiver who's not crazy. If you're trying to be different in these slates, you have to do something weird. And I think Debo is a name that can accomplish that. Tyreek Hill is a name that can accomplish that. Geno Smith is a name that can accomplish that. Most likely these plays won't work out, but I think having some of them in some of your lineups is very, very necessary, given everyone else is going to do very obvious things in the Osborne, Gabe Davis, Zay Jones range right below him.
Right. Now you're right. And I guess that is the question. Like if you're trying to get different, where will it be? For me, yes. I'll probably still go back to some Gabe Davis, 4,800, 10 targets last week. Couldn't haul that one in the end zone. That could have changed everything around. But 10 targets last week, KJ Osborne. Then you're talking about Slayton, Hodgins, Richie James, all of them down there in that dirt cheap range. We saw last time Daniel Jones faced this Vikings team. I shouldn't even refer to that. It's the fact that the Vikings secondary is as bad as it is, right? Only one team is allowing more passing yards per game. They're allowing 7.4 yards per attempt through the air. This is a bad secondary. So I think taking some shots on a Hodgins, a James, a Darius Slayton is just sensible.
Yeah, it's funny. Daniel Jones is a popular quarterback name, and I know he's got some mobility, but it stands to reason that some of these Giants pass catchers outside of Saquon have to get there if he has a huge game. So it's just very hard to sort through them, but I agree. You have reasonable pay down options at wide receiver.
What else do you want to do at wide receiver position? Anybody that stands out maybe as a leverage spot, as a tournament play, and anybody else that you like here?
I think that, again, tournament play, what about a guy like Michael Gallup? Certainly can make some plays. He had 6 targets in that last game, 1 reception. The game log is a mess, but I still think that's the type of guy with Dak. What an interesting build. You're not going to find stability down here, and I don't think you need to go down here for stability. Maybe one-offs at best.
Yeah, I'm thinking if you're looking on like in smaller slates, like the Saturday slate or whatever, you're going to have to look to some, somewhat weird spots. That slate doesn't have a lot for cheap options though. That one really doesn't. Once you get into the Sunday slate, there are a few more guys that are ugly, but maybe like if Lamar played, DeMarcus Robinson's 3,500, you could do worse than that. If Lamar doesn't play, you're pretty much throwing that out the window. You have McKenzie at 3,400. We've seen him show up in some of these.
Marvin Jones.
Who?
Marvin Jones.
Yeah, right. Like all of these guys are T.Y. Hilton is playing. He played almost 40% of snaps last game, saw 4 targets. It's gross. I would likely stay away from him. But like even a Noah Brown, does a Noah Brown go out and have another 5 or 6 targets? None of these guys are appealing, but you are without question, if you're playing some of these top tier guys, which you're going to find yourself in this spot. And honestly, I think one of the spots you could look to, maybe if you're playing the Sunday through Monday, is probably Russell Gage.
Another, again, we talked about Brady at the top of the show. Julio, he in and out. Gage he got a little banged up late in the year, but he looks like he's good to go. Sub 4K. You have various options. Paying down at wide receiver is not going to be a problem this week. There's legitimately 3, 4, 5 guys, even on the small slates.
Talk tight ends and defense here.
Let's do it.
All right. I think we hit on everything for wide receiver right now. Oh, how about this? Last question. For Saturday, is there one value receiver that you think is like, would it be Marvin Jones for you?
Yes.
It would?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right.
2-game slate. I mean, I'm not going to go to the Seattle pay down options. I think that we know what the Niners want to do. The Chargers are tough in that regard too. It's Marvin Jones.
So we have, for everybody watching now, for everyone watching after the fact, we recently changed the the 3 free days for NFL to 5 because 3 is ridiculous, right? Like if it's on a Tuesday when Ben and I were doing the show, I told these guys like we can't promote 3 free days on a Tuesday. It doesn't help anybody. Like sure you get Thursday, but that's it. And now Thursday night football is gone. And now it's 5 days for all of our NFL tools. The link is in the description. The link is in chat. That means if you were to use it today, right? If you were to click that link, go take advantage of 5 free days. You're getting everything in the lead up, being able to use all of our tools, tweak your lineups, familiarize yourself with the tools, whether it's the boom bust tool, the top stacks, which I know is Ben's favorite, the ownership tool, the player projections, all of our projected stats and data, the NFL lineup builder, the lineup generator, everything, all of our premium stuff free for 5 days. That means you have it through Sunday. And with the way that this works, it's weird. With the way that it works, remember they had explained this to us. So like it's the midnight after the 5th day. So you're getting Monday as well. So you'd be getting all of Saturday slate, all of Sunday, all of Monday, all of the showdown games as well. All of our tools, our top showdown plays tool, our showdown ownership projections, all of that for any showdown slate, but also all the main slates if you take advantage of it. So now that it's 5 days, you can really gear up and get every single slate. So you're talking everything throughout the week if you use it today. And I would say use it today too, so you can really familiarize yourself with these tools going into it. And you're not just blindsided going into a new service, new tools on Saturday morning or something like that. So check it out. Links in the description and in chat. Risk-free and not risk-free. I shouldn't say it's entirely free. And if you hate it, we will refund your misery, which is exactly $0. But we hope you stick around, and I think you will. And hopefully you win some money. All right. Tight end and defense. We'll talk about tight ends first. Then we'll give our defense under 3K. There's one, I think, to me that stands out more than the others. But for tight ends, you kind of can go a lot of different directions here. Mark Andrews might be a moot point if Lamar is out. But Hawkinson against the Giants, great spot. Do you want to go to Kittle, though? Because he's been productive. I think he's got 14 touchdowns over his last 4 games. But the volume is something where if he doesn't get in the end zone, you could be looking at a very underwhelming game from George Kittle.
Got 27 targets in the last 4 weeks. He's got 7 touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Multiple
touchdowns in 3 of 4.
That's awesome. George Kittle's an amazing player, but when you're getting 5, 6, 8 targets, it's pretty thin margins. If he keeps scoring, sure, but I'm a little skeptical of that. If I have the money, great, because he can just keep doing what he's doing. I think Hawkinson makes a ton of sense. Ingram, these are going to be attachments to your stacks. Hawkinson, Ingram, Dawson Knox. I mean, this is a guy that the range of outcomes has been massive, but he can still pop up with a 5+ target game every now and then. And he's finding the end zone pretty frequently himself lately.
I'm looking over this position thinking you have a number of different directions you can take. Ingram, not crazy at all. It's tough with that team because really Trevor Lawrence hasn't had a preferred option all season long. 1 week it's Zay, 1 week it's Kirk, 1 week it's Ingram. You know what I mean? It really has been kind of erratic just as far as who he's going to on a weekly basis.
It's definitely going to be kind of a mixed bag, but when you're talking about tight ends, I think we all acknowledge you kind of have to live a little dangerous. Like if you're not Travis Kelce, you know that you're going to have fleeting targets and you probably have to score. Kittle's been doing that at an insane clip, but I'm not sure he's different in that regard than anyone else up top. Like you need to find the end zone and you might only get 4 chances.
Yeah. Ingram, but Ingram has that ceiling. We've seen it. That's what it is appealing to me. He has the ceiling. Plus, if you're talking Saturday only slate, how popular is Kittle going to be?
Oh my God.
Right? Because it's Kittle, it's Gerald Everett, it's Noah Fant, or if you're going to like a Donald Parham or a Will Dissly, hoping for 2 targets, one of them they score. And then it's Ingram. It's Kittle and Ingram. They have to take up the large majority of ownership, and you would think that Kittle's going to be the most popular for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, the 2-game slate, there's a raw points component. We obviously are going to have you covered leading up, to those games. So we'll visit that there. It's It's definitely limited options though.
The cheaper options though are pretty ugly. Like we've found ways to get real cheap at tight end throughout the year, and sometimes it works. Isaiah Likely was a man. I'm not sure any of us expected 10 for 103 when the rest of the team did nothing, but Brown locked on to him, and that was great. That was huge. He was sub 3K. It got you where you needed to go. I don't really see any of those this week. Like Daniel Bellinger, Cade Otton, Parham, none of these guys are really, not only are they not exciting, but they're pretty ugly plays. I'm the only thing I'll ask you about is it has appeared that Skylar Thompson has an affinity for some reason or another for Mike Gesicki. And that had not been the case with Bridgewater or with Tua Tagovailoa. Like they didn't look his way once in many games. He has been targeted relatively frequently when Skylar Thompson has been under center.
There's no doubt. I just wonder with the lack of top end options in terms of like extreme pricing, feels like I might have plenty of money to land in the 4K range for tight end. So, if you're changing it up and you want to punt there, I think you obviously can, but I'm not sure I'll need to. And that makes it tougher and tougher because I think we'd all agree if I had the money, I'd rather have Schultz and Ingram and Hawkinson types over a Gesicki type.
For sure.
And that's where it's tricky. Yeah.
So if that's the case, then where are you saving?
So I don't know if you're like running back. I think you can easily pay down.
Okay.
Quarterback, you're not going to have a super expensive stack unless you're going like Bills. It's not even where am I saving? Where am I spending?
Jefferson, Chase, McCaffrey. You can save down. You can spend down a quarterback for sure, though.
Like you could get two of those guys, and I still think you have plenty of money.
You're probably right, especially if you have like a giant stack or something.
Giant stack, secondary guys on Minnesota stack is fine. The Jaguar stack is very cheap. Kirk and Zay Jones are not.
Even
expensive.
the Tampa stack's not that hard to get to with Brady at his price and
That's what I'm
Godwin
saying.
at 62. You're right. It's not that hard.
Gage is super cheap. Like it's only if you're like the Bill stack, and even there after Diggs, it's wide open. Davis is paid out. Knox is reasonable.
Yeah, you're right. If you were to talk about, and by the way, for those of you guys that don't have Prize Picks available to you, BetMGM should be available to you because Prize Picks is available in non-legal states, whereas BetMGM should be available everywhere else. 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Our whole thing here is we just want you guys to check the tools out because we think you're going to love them. And we know there's a lot of people out there playing smaller stakes. They're grinding their way, and maybe they don't have, maybe you don't have the means right now to pay for a month or 2 months of Stokastic Plus Platinum with the amount that you're playing weekly or daily in DFS. In this case, all you need is 2 minutes of your time and $10. You're legitimately just taking $10 and you're using the link in the description or in chat. You're putting that $10 in the BetMGM when you sign up for the first time, putting it on any game, any player prop. I think the odds have to be like 250 or shorter, but whatever. And after that bet settles, you have 2 free months, $240 value. It's a truly beautiful thing here. Our hope is that you love it, that you love the Discord, that you love the tools, that you win money. And now you find yourself in a position where you go, hey, after 2 months, guess who's not playing, the quarter arcade anymore and use these tools for free and is in a spot where I can now become a full-time member and join the Stokastic family. So if it doesn't work for you, you're down $10 at the end. Actually, you're not down $10 because if your bet loses, you still get all of that back in bonus bets anyway, up to $1,000. Legitimate no-brainer. Best thing we have on the site, hands down. If BetMGM is available to you, take advantage of that all day long. Links in the description and in the chat. All right, defense under 3K. Give me the Bucks, 2,600.
No problem with that. I am because people did ask, I'm gonna give you a 30-second DMV story if I can. If I can. If people want to know, it's not even a story. People are gonna be like, what the hell is this guy talking about? I had to go to the DMV. I found like a secret DMV. Apparently it was great. Made the appointment, got there. I was already stressed because I don't like to do any of this shit. I go, I get blah, blah, blah. I do all typical DMV. I get to the window and I have to sign and fill out a bunch of paperwork naturally. I'm doing all that and I just don't have my wallet. And I'm like, no, that's it. Like there's literally 2 choices. I either find my wallet or I'm jumping over the overpass. Like So I go to my car. I know I never lose things. I have to have it in there. I have it. I find it. I bring it back. I fill out all the papers. And the lady was very nice. And she's just like, I can't read your handwriting. And I'm like, well, like, I know I have horrible handwriting, but like, what do you want? There's literally nothing I can do. Like, I'm doing the best I can here.
So
like I wasn't just like I'm trying to, I just don't
was it legible enough?
It wasn't good, but it was definitely legible enough. And we were like at a standstill because I'm like, okay, that's an interesting observation, but like realistically, what do you want me to do? I'm not going to do it all over.
So did you have to like did you have to read it for her?
I couldn't tell if she was just making the comment and like, I tried to pass it off like, oh yeah, haha, like I know it's terrible. Or if she was actually serious, like
this is a problem.
Like, what do you, again, what exactly do you want me to do?
So what happened?
Nothing. I just was like, okay, here you go. Like, have a nice life. I'm not doing it again. It didn't turn into a problem. The way she said it, it was like half of an observation and half of like this is a problem. And I was quite disturbed. Again, I know it's not really a story, but that's.
So she's basically, yes. My handwriting's terrible, dude.
It's awful. I don't know who the hell's.
I think I write in all caps now just to make sure that it's legible.
Everything I write looks like a straight ransom note. It's terrible. It's just straight ransom. Like that's.
Oh, that'd be great. Handing her your license photo that looks like a serial killer.
Oh, they definitely flagged me. Like there's no doubt. I'm like between the license photo and the handwriting.
What do you expect?
Yeah, I'm a doctor. That's fair enough. Like,
yeah, there you go. My dad was a doctor, and his handwriting was legitimately illegible. You could not read it. Could not read it.
Yes. Last question, and I'll get to my defense. And you know this. Does May handle all customer service issues in your house? Yes, times 10,000. Are you kidding me? Vikings. But there's no. Okay, what do we have? 5 defenses sub 3K?
Yeah. It's not a lot. I think
the Dolphins are out. The Seahawks are out.
I think the Jags are in.
I think the Ravens are in.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's been a while and they made strides. There was a time where Joe Burrow couldn't even get the snap off before he was sacked. Like, I'm not saying that happens here, but the Ravens defense is going to give them all they can handle. I just don't know if the Ravens offense gives them a chance in a game like that.
Yeah. Ultimately, I don't think you're wrong. Plus, on the shorter slates too, right? Like on a 3-game slate where you have Baltimore, Cincy, Giants, Minnesota, Miami, Buffalo. If you're going to Buffalo, you're paying up a little bit. Ravens,
everybody's going to Buffalo.
Everyone's going to go to Buffalo in that game, no doubt, which is fine. But if Miami can still be really bad and not turn the ball over, and that's going to be a problem, right? Like that, you need the turnovers. You need the defensive production, not just limiting scoring.
That's actually like one of the big disconnects. If you shut him out, great. But if you don't, give me a good quarterback who throws it 45 times over Skylar Thompson, who's going to be, 18 for 28 with 105 yards.
Yeah. On like all short intermediate stuff.
You want Jameis Winston. That's who you want to attack.
Yeah. You want
not Mariota.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't want a game manager at all.
No doubt.
Appreciate you guys watching as always. We'll have the marathon matchup show tomorrow. Follow Ben at JazzRez DFS. Follow me at Lafay_D. Shout out to Tyler for producing this one. Remember, love to have you guys come check out the site. There's a million different ways to do it, whether it's through Prize Picks, MGM, or even just the 5 free days. You're going to love our tools, and you're getting in there either free or for $10 at the minimum for a month, 2 months, 5 days free, whatever it is. Hit the links down there. Shout us out. Say hi in the Discord when you sign up and you're checking it all out. And we'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Marathon matchup show. Wrapping it up. Well, not wrapping it up, but 6 games. Hopefully we have more insight on Lamar. We already have it on Tua. We'll see you back there, 11 Eastern, right here on the Stokastic YouTube channel. Peace.